Okay, so before we begin, I'm going to take you on a quick tour of my grandmother's basement. Okay, washer and dryer. I have an old set of culinary knives in case an emergency happens down here and I need to cut a roast beef. Um, this disgusting hamper has held sweaty socks since the 60s. It may be the source of the COVID-19 virus. Epidemiologists are not sure. Over here, I have a thing for drinks and a thing for coffee. I think it's appropriate that they're together. You indulge in one and you require the services of the other. I have a microwave that works if you don't mind blue sparks. Let's see. Oh, these. So these vacuum cleaners emit an odor that is so foul it can clear a room. And they say that smell is one of the first things to go with Parkinson's disease. I think this is your test right here. An old record player and various other pieces and bits. And this is a boxing bag that I had hanging from the ceiling until I realized it shook all the apartments and all my neighbors wanted to kill me. So we stopped with that. And now it just looks like I beat it up. So now that you have the lay of the land, we'll start our little segment. Okay? So, just a few things first. So I'm in a basement, which I'm not thrilled about, and I'm not going to do a lot of segments from here because it's very cold. It's damp. There's a chill. I have a sweatshirt on. My neck is protected. I should probably be wearing a hat, but it's not that cold. You don't want to get out of breath in a basement. One of the reasons that boxing down here wasn't so great is because you get winded and it's damp. It's a great way to get cold, or to catch a cold anyway. So I always, be mindful. I usually don't spend more than about a half an hour to 45 minutes down here before I at least get a change of air. Anyway, that being said, this is concrete under here. Now I'm in my socks right now. I sometimes will be barefoot. I sometimes will have shoes on. It sort of depends. But traditionally, this is matting, like gym matting. Okay, so I have a little cushion between this and the ground. Even at the beginning levels of Tai Chi, even when you're moving pretty slowly, you still don't. Concrete's tough on the joints. You want something that's a little bit giving. So grass, carpet, any kind of padding like that. But you could do this in your basement, you could do this in your attic or a spare room. You really don't need a lot of space. This is probably 9 feet by 9 feet, and I'm going to use this little part right here to talk to you guys. Okay, so it's not that much space that's required. In other words, Tai Chi is portable, it's easy, and it's something that you can do anywhere. Okay. The only real restrictions, I haven't really talked about this, of like when to do Tai Chi and things that you're not supposed to do. You're not supposed to do it when you're very full, and you're not supposed to do it when you're very hungry. They say usually about a half an hour between. I've broken that rule with no discernible difference. Same thing with water. Same thing with having to use the bathroom. Loose, comfortable clothing. That's one of the big ones. You don't want to wear anything tight, anything that's restrictive, or anything that's going to bunch. You want to be able to flow. You don't want to practice when you're angry or when you're sad, because your emotions can cloud what you're doing. And that's part of the reason we prepare when we do Tai Chi. We're going to do that in a sec. Um, and I think beyond that, you also don't want to have anything really to drink. I've had a glass or two and really felt the flow. It's been nice, but you don't want to disrespect or sully the art, right? So anyway, what I do to start always is I check in with my feet. Okay, so my feet here are mostly on the heel. Okay, my knee is bent, so the force is driving down. If you look at me from the side, I'm planted pretty much like this. Okay, my hips are straight down. My chest is caved in a little bit, and I want to imagine I've got that little tiny string. Okay. From here, I'm just gonna this is my first exercise of the day. In other words, I get up, I do what I got to do, I have some water, I sit for a second, and then I do this. And this shakes off the evening. It reminds me of where I am. I'm here. It's now. It's the next day. It's the morning. I'm starting my awareness. And I'm also preparing myself for Tai Chi. And there's no limit to how many times. A lot of times when I do this, I'll teach you a count, like 8 or 10. I just kind of do it. It's kind of like if you ever watch, animals. They take what they need and then they leave the rest. Um, so I don't know how many that is. Probably about, I don't know, somewhere between 13, 14. I kind of go until I feel that anything that's kind of up here is settled. I feel a little more in my body, and I feel a little more collected and present. Okay? And then from there, I'll do my tree pose. Now this one I won't do with you guys forever, but I'll do this for anywhere from 5 to 10 minutes. Usually I'll do it until I start feeling some fatigue, which is usually in my buttocks or my low back. And then I'll shift a little bit. I'll kind of play with it. Sometimes I'll kind of wing the arms out, or I'll shake out a little bit, and I'll come back to it. Usually the fatigue for me comes from the lower half, like right in here, or in the middle of between my shoulder blades. I'll sort of get this little slump and I'll get a little bit of an ache. And that's a mark to, make sure my posture's up. Again, I've got that little string, and here I am. And my breathing, I breathe into this dantian area. This is 3 finger widths down from the belly button, 2 fingers back. Okay, it's this place where we imagine storing and collecting all of our vital chi. Okay, and I work through. That's where I'm breathing to. So every time I breathe in, I'm using my mind to drive this energy down here. Okay, and then it stores, and that expands. And then when I send it out, I'm breathing down through my legs, through my knees, down through my heels, all the way down to the center of the earth. Excuse me, not the virus, I promise. My focus is diffused. I'm not really looking at anything. I'm not really looking towards anything. And when I'm ready, when I feel I'm nice and grounded, I relax. Okay, so those to me are the 2 fundamental exercises. The first one really kind of puts you in the mindset, and the second one prepares your body. It kind of lowers you down a little bit. Okay, so then from here, I'm going to start warming up those joints. So I start with my wrists. I do my little fishes. You probably hear some cracks in there. If I want to play around, I can start varying it a little bit. I assure you, it's mold, it's not the virus. Okay, and then down here, coming in and back, and I can start working those circles. I can have them follow each other. Okay, whatever I want to play with, just loosen that up. Okay, I want to loosen the shoulders up. I can start doing this kind of a thing. Okay, where I sort of ruffle the feathers and expand up and release down. And I'm lifting as if I'm lifting from that cup underneath my armpits right in here. Okay, almost like I'm trying to lift that and everything's expanding out. Okay, I can work my elbows. Work my elbows. Okay, I can move around. Waiter with the plate style. I can start moving like this. Okay, whatever I need to do to just sort of get those arms, I can start moving in my circles here. Okay, I can start playing with those circles outside. I can start playing with those circles around. Again, I'm not just doing, one of the things I hate about most systems is there's a rote part to exercise. You do X amount of stretches, then you do 10 these, and you do 10 that. I like to have a little bit of a freedom. Some days I don't do this. Some days I'm tired, or I don't feel well, or I have a ton of stuff to do, and I'll just be like, all right, next, loosen my shoulders, you know what I mean? But most of the time, I try and get a little bit of a flow out of it. And so once I feel that those arms are nice and loose, okay, I want to make sure I've got those shoulders. So I'll come up and out, and up and out. Now, one of the things a lot of people do in the beginning, especially, is they want to go with the hands. They want to reach up, so they sort of lose contact with the ground. They come up on their toes, or they start overbalancing and leaning back. I want to go just as high as my arms go. Okay, so my torso isn't moving at all. My legs aren't moving at all. This is strictly coming from my hands and my arms, and they reach to right about there before I start getting my body involved. So I'm going to that point and back down, and that point and back down. And then I do my up and my out, my up and my out, and I bring it together, and I come down and I push out, and I bring it together and I come down and I push out. Okay, so those are my arms, and then I do my neck, so I'll do my head twists. Okay, and I use my eyes. My eyes are swiveling. The head follows the eyes. The head follows the eyes. The eyes come first, the head follows. The eyes come first, the head follows. I might do a couple of circles just around, just trying to loosen up, shake everything out. I'll rotate those shoulders. And again, I'm trying to shake off the evening, right? I lay prone for 8 hours. Well, I lay prone for 2 hours, and then I got up, and then anyway. And I roll, and I roll, okay? And then I want to work that chest, so I cave in, cave out. I'm not keeping track of numbers, okay? I'm just doing a few, because I know the routine. That's part of practice too, right? I know the routine. I know what comes next. I know what to do, so I'm free to take some liberties with it if I want to. Okay? Then I'm going to put those hands over the belly. I'm going to play that expand and contract and expand. And again, I'm not counting. I'm just doing till it feels right. Okay? This is where you get less into the rote stuff and more into personalizing it and making it your own. Okay? I'm going to do my pelvic tilt. Okay, so I tilt that pelvis forward, those knees bend, that low back stretches down, that tailbone tucks under. Okay, now I could do about 50 of these because my low back has been very stiff lately. But I'm not going to bore you with that. So we'll do a couple more. But pay attention to the ones that feel like they need a little more work. That when you leave them, you're kind of like, oh man, that felt good. I could have done more of those. Stick with those and work it. Especially if you're recovering from an injury or if you have a spot, like I have trouble with my low back. So this one's a really good one for me to do sometimes when I'm not doing Tai Chi. Okay. So I'm opening. Okay. So I'll do some hips. This is another one I feel like I could spend a lot of time doing. Just to loosen things up a little bit. Okay. I want to do that spinal wave. So that's the coming forward of the hips. As the hips come forward, okay, there's a wave that rolls the chest back, comes up the head, brings the head down around like this. Okay, and this is probably the best exercise that I know of for the whole spine. Okay, and then I can add the arms as I come up and down as I drop down. And I can get the wave going. And I can do that exercise alone for 20 minutes, for sure. Just because it really, especially the more you play with it, you can vary the speed, you can vary the arms, you can do one arm at a time. You can really start to play with it and feel that rhythmic, flowing motion up the spine. Okay? So, let's see. I also want to do my back. So I've got my hips turned. Wave those hands like clouds. Now, last week, we learned the cloud hand move, right? Coming across, switching those hands, coming across, switching those hands. We have that little move. Okay, and we're going to play with that a little today again. But again, what I'm really trying to do is move just like a curtain, moving to the side. Again, that difference between the lower waist and the upper waist. I'm really reaching this upper part, these shoulders, chest, scapula area here. So I'm trying to stretch out this area in here, which really doesn't get a lot of stretching or exercise ever, okay? So let's see. I did my head, I did my arms, I did my torso, I did my hips, I do my knees. So knees are pretty straightforward, always just this little guy, okay? And then, you know, the pouring exercise. So I always spend a lot of time with the pouring. I can do that for 10 minutes too. Shifting my weight. and shifting my weight. And I don't necessarily have to do this just to do the ankles. The ankles is pretty straightforward. I put all my weight on this leg. I come out. I rotate my ankle. I do it both ways, and then I'm done stretching. Okay. So I'll play with it. You know, I'll kind of hold my leg up. I'll see what I can do. I'll see if I can do it out. I'll see if I can do it back. I cannot. So, you know, that's what I'll kind of do. I'll do a little bounce too. And that's not a bounce to get anywhere. It's a bounce. So see these little the shake in the arms as I come up? I'm landing. Now be careful of this. I don't want to land too hard and shock myself. Okay, it's really easy to get injured that way. Give yourself a headache, all right? But I want to feel that like I came up like a dog coming out of the rain, shaking off all over the carpet, right? So that's my warm-up. So my warm-up can take anywhere from, a good warm-up should take about 20 minutes. 10 minutes is acceptable, but about 20 minutes, you should feel like your joints are ready to move. And then I spend a minute where I just kind of move my arms. And I kind of stretch what needs to be stretched. I kind of play around with a couple things that don't feel quite right. I'll play with some movement. Okay, and that's what we're going to do today. So we've gone over 4 moves. We've gone over part the wild horse's mane. Okay. And we've gone over brush the knee and push. Okay. Both of these involving our Tai Chi walk. Open up the gate, step forward, open up the gate, and step forward. Okay, then we learned how to go backwards. Okay, and that was our coming out, offering that fruit like a server, right? With this hand coming back, that expansion, that opening, that step comes back, and then when we settle on that back foot, we slide off. Okay, turn that hand over, this hand again. Whoops. Be mindful of your balance always. Always push off. Coming together, push off. Okay? So, we've learned 2 forward motions, 1 back, and then last week we learned our cloud hands. Okay, and this is the transfer of the weight, the spine twists. Okay? I did that incorrectly. There it is. Okay? So, I have these 4 movements. So in the next segment, I'm going to show you guys how to combine these 4 movements into sort of a little mini form and how to play with it a little bit so you can get a feel for what Tai Chi is like in your bones. Okay? So at this point, what I would do is I would take one of these. This is, according to the bottom, 32 ounces. Okay? Now, I'm not yelling at anybody. Okay? Ken, I'm just kidding. But all of us do not drink enough water. So at this point, after I warmed up and played around a little, I would drink at least half of this 32 ounces. The other half would probably be gone before I finished the workout. And I would drink, I would probably have had a half one of these before I got up or before I started to do anything, and then another one, at least one through the day. The goal is 3 of these a day. And I try not to have anything after 7, or I spend the rest of the night in the bathroom cursing God and country. So, take a little drink. Make sure you stay nice and warm, okay? If you want to just kind of run around, just kind of find a spot or something for the next part, then you can do that, and I'll be back shortly.